Mario Maker 2 is arguably one of the best games on the Nintendo Switch because of just how much variety it has. The fact that creators can make whatever they want and design any type of 2D Mario level that they want is insane, and the fact that anyone can play these levels online. And we also got DLC and updates for this game, like frickin' a world maker. That was insane. We could build our own world with our own levels and pretty much build our own Mario game from the ground up. But there's one thing I still wish that we would have gotten, and that is a boss maker. So what if Mario Maker 2 actually had a boss maker, and what would that even look like? Before we get started, stop what you're doing. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you want to stay up to date on all things Mario, Mario Maker, or Nintendo in general. You guys help out a lot, and I cannot thank you guys enough. Did you like? Did you subscribe? Did you comment? Are you still here? Alright, let's get into the video. So let's first start off by talking about the how. How will it work? This will be done in a separate mode, just like the world creator. This will be the boss creator, and this will be its own separate category where you can design this boss and the stage and everything with this boss in its own area, so you're not confused with your level or the world or anything like that. You will have specific set pieces and design pieces for this boss fight only. This is simply a boss fight mode. After your boss fight is made and saved, it will all be accessed through a boss door that you can place down in any one of your levels. This will take the character to a completely different section of the level, which is its own specific boss room that you can fight this boss in, and it will all be dedicated to this one boss door. These can be added toward the end of your level or anywhere where you have free space where this could fit. Obviously, you have to make sure that this fits in your level. You can't have a completely crowded level and still try to jam in a boss fight. It probably wouldn't work that way. Now, before we actually go over the mechanics and some extra creative bosses, let's talk about the boss pack. It will come with a boss pack of brand new bosses, well, kind of new, bosses from past games that now work in a 2D space for Mario. Now, I'll try to look at all 3D Mario bosses and 2D Mario bosses and see which would work perfectly for Mario Maker, as I had to pick some 3D bosses that could translate to a 2D fight. So, for Mario Bros. 1, I have all the Super Mario Land 1 and 2 bosses. I feel like most of these would work. I don't know, give or take a couple that have like kind of flying mechanics. I know there's some that have like Mario in an airplane and a submarine. You could add a clown car or something else like that where the battle has to be taking place while you're in the clown car. Maybe you can only stay in there, and once you get hit, you just die. That way it forces the player to stay in their clown car and have the capabilities of shooting at the opponent. But most of those boss fights would work. Lots of the ones from Super Mario Land 2 just required Mario to jump on their head 3 times. So, once again, that would translate perfectly well. In Mario Bros. 3, I really don't have much. Some of these bosses may be able to translate to Mario Bros. 3 with just a different art style like some of them do now, but I didn't have much for that game. Now, let's take a step back once again to Mario Bros. 1, because there's something I forgot to mention, is I think they should add the Super Mario Bros. 2 bosses, because now there is an item that turns Mario into Super Mario Bros. 2 Mario and allows him to jump on top of enemies and pick them up. Now, they would have to have it triggered to the point where if you get hit under this Mario Bros. 2 style, you just die straight up, you know, because if you get hit and take damage, you lose that power-up, or at least have it able to be, you know, power-ups respawn in that room. For instance, if you lose your mushroom and you lose your Mario Bros. 2 Mario, you can get it back by a spawning pipe that spawns you these mushrooms or something like that, you know. Then they can have a workaround with that. Then you can have all these Mario Bros. 2 bosses, since all the bosses really require you to just pick things up and throw them at the enemies, like Birdo and obviously King Wart, picking up the vegetables and turnips and throwing them back at him. Let's move on to Super Mario World. Once again, lots of these bosses will be able to be interchangeable with the different themes, since they all kind of work within the Mario Brothers, New Super Mario Brothers art style. Obviously, 3D World will be in its own thing here soon, but original ones coming from Super Mario World will be the Big Boos or a King Boo, and obviously having Reznor as well. So, Big Boo or King Boo would be really interesting, just to have a Big Boo, and it could have like many different Boos coming out of them, and maybe they just have specific King Boo attacks. I don't really know what that would be, but just ways to hit this Boo and actually fight them. Since most of them you can't really fight without a power star, you could throw things at this one or kind of get things to crash on top of it and hit them 3 times, and I'm sure Nintendo will come up with some unique way. But obviously in the Big Boo fight in Super Mario World, you had to throw these blue throwable blocks at them and hit them a couple times, and it could be the same type of situation here. Now, we have a lot when it comes to New Super Mario Brothers, and a lot of these could probably be translated to the other themes just in different graphical styles. But once again, we have Reznor. He was from New Super Mario Bros. 2 again, coming from Super Mario World. You could have them again just hitting the platforms, placing as many as you want on the wheel. The Mummy Pokey could come back. The Cheap Skipper could come back. Mega Goomba or King Goomba can come back. Petey Piranha, Monty Tank, Lack of Thunder, Dry Bowser, Giant Bowser, and that would kind of work in like a background sort of thing. We have some enemies and bosses in the game already that kind of play with the foreground and background, such as the giant bullet bill launchers from the background in 3D World, and obviously Cat Meowser flying back and forth within 3D World. And I think this could work, you know, the same way. Just having a giant Bowser kind of come in from the background, you have to jump on his hands or his head or something like that would be really cool. Bowser Jr.'s clown car. So listen, when you put Bowser Jr. in a clown car in this game, they don't really do anything. But his clown car in the new Super Mario Bros. Games actually have a lot of capabilities with boxing gloves and different power-ups and bomb throwing abilities and bullet bill shooting, and even like a little face shield that he puts over so he can protect himself with a glass dome. He can be underwater in a submarine shooting torpedo Teds. There's a lot of things that he can do that we don't see him doing in Mario Maker, and I think we should be able to customize him and his clown car and give him lots of different options. Now for Mario 3D World, I picked some specific bosses. Some wouldn't make the cut because they just wouldn't work right. But first off, we have the Histocrats. I think this would work really well. So you could have the little snakes coming out from the left side of them or the right side of them, depending on what side you are on, and then climb up and hit them in its head 3 times. It's as simple as that. Boss Boulder, you can have different Boulders come out and you can pick them up and chuck them at Boss Boulder. Once again, it would work fine in a 2D space. Prince Bully, we already have the bullies, so Prince Bully would be no difference. He just kind of shoots fireballs out of his mouth. Motley Boss Blob would work as well. He would just get really big, bounce around until he splits into multiple different copies that could run all over the 2D space, and you have to bounce on multiple heads until you reach him. And then finally, I have Bowser's car in Mario 3D World, where he can actually drive backward at a certain rate. You can change the rate and the speed at which he drives at, and you can kick back his soccer balls that he throws at you or throw other things that are along the stage at him. Now we have some other bosses, and these could be from other Mario games or ones that I just kind of came up with on the spot. So starting off with around Mario 64, we got King Bob-omb. This would be very easy. All you have to do is run up on the other side of him, maybe trick him and jump to the other side real quick, or use different platforms to get to the other side and then pick them up and toss them down, and you have to do this 3 times. Then you can have King Womp, which would just be a Womp. I'm surprised that Womps aren't in this game, but just a big Womp that falls down and you have to run away and then come back and ground pound on them. There was actually a couple Mario Party minigames that had the ability to have 2D Womps, and you could, you know, jump on them. I think they were even in New Super Mario Bros. 2, if I'm not mistaken. But moving on, we also have a giant Wiggler. So what if we had a giant Wiggler, almost like Mario Sunshine even, where you had to ground pound different segments of its body in order to hurt it multiple times. Continuing on with Mario Sunshine, we already have Petey the Piranha, so I said, why not have a Gooper Blooper? Now, these are one of the few enemies within Mario Sunshine where you won't need FLUDD in Mario Maker. You can just kind of jump on his, you know, tentacles and pull them or something like that. In the 3D style, that would be pretty cool since you can pick up boxes. Maybe it'll let you pick up tentacles and pull them off, and eventually pulling his nose off, and you could easily do that in a 2D space after he slams his tentacles in front of you. And then you could also do a giant Mecha Bowser, or maybe even Mecha Hammer from Mario Galaxy. This would be a giant robot contraption, once again in the background, shooting rockets and everything in the foreground, and then maybe it'll come in the foreground for a second and put its hands on the stage, and you can step on its hands or stomp on its hands or something like that. Or maybe they get some type of device that allows Mario to shoot things into the background, like you could, remember Yoshi's Island where you had to fight the giant baby Bowser, and you could throw the eggs all the way into the background to hit him and knock him back? Something like that as well, where you can have some type of cannon. Maybe you can shoot and fire at the giant mechanical Bowser in the background and he moves back and forth left and right or something like that. That would be pretty amazing. Now what about some Mario Galaxy bosses? Now some of these could be done without having to have some type of weird spin mechanic or gravity mechanic in a 2D space as well, like Camilla, which is just a strong Magic Koopa that you could easily have fly around the stage and just have to hit 3 times, and they just kind of teleport throwing shells and fireballs at you, just a bigger, stronger version of Magic Koopa. That would be really cool. Or you can have Gobblegut from Mario Galaxy 2 that kind of just flies in and you have to jump and ground pound on the big old wart parts of his body and kind of pop them all as he's kind of flying through, whether he's flying above you or below you, and he's just flying around the stage, through the background, through the foreground. That would be pretty cool to see. And last but not least, we could have a couple of Mario Odyssey bosses that don't require you to use Cappy really at all if this was translated into 2D, which would be the Brutals, which are kind of just like the Koopalings right now. They just have kind of different attacks, and they use their hats, but you don't have to use yours. You can just dodge their hat attack and hit them in the head. You could have the Lord of Lightning. This would be the second one that would work as well, because once again, yes, you needed Cappy to take the shackles off his head, but what they weren't on his head? What if it was just the Lord of Lightning and you had to make your way to him and ground pound on his head? This would be another one that kind of plays from the background, and he's kind of holding onto the stage from the background, and you have to hit his hands or something, or make your way to his head and climb up his head and then ground pound on his head after all the lightning waves are through. This would be really cool to see, and it actually could work in 2D. Now don't worry, if you don't want any of these bosses in the boss pack, you could still make your own boss. Now if you've seen online, many people have made their own creations out of blocks, out of platforms, out of all kind of crazy things that's allowed you to do things, but you never quite fought it. You always had to collect keys or collect coins or do something that was outside of the purpose of actually attacking the device that they created or the enemy that they made the boss. Well, what if you had a switch where if placed on an enemy or placed on whatever you put on your contraption, the player had to reach that switch and hit it 3 times, or you could make a trigger where you have to hit that enemy 3 times without being a visible switch, and every time you hit them, it'll blow you off and push you all the way back, making you have to do everything that you did again, making it a 3-shot in order to finish the boss, giving it a fully boss feel. This way you can be as creative as you want and not like anyone else, and create whatever boss fight you want without actually having a boss preset. You can build your own bosses and you can design your own boss battles simply by placing a switch onto your creation. Now before we wrap up, let's talk about some mechanics and how you will be able to customize your bosses even further, if in case you pick the bosses in the boss pack. You will have tons of tools where you can do things to change or make your boss fights original to you. For instance, first you have color palettes where you can change the boss's color from 8 different color schemes each, kind of like Smash Brothers skins, where you can change the way your boss looks. Maybe your Lord of Lightning is blue and your friend's is green, or maybe your Bowser is purple. Who knows? But there's different types of colors and skins that you can put on them to make them each your own. Next, each boss has a difficulty meter out of 3 different settings to make them harder or easier. You can have a little meter that goes up, and you could choose how hard your boss is, and if you choose them to be on a harder setting, the more different attacks and unique attacks that they could do, from their AI programming. Bosses can also be given certain items to change the way they act, such as, once again, the Lord of Lightning. He's just kind of our point of reference for this video. You could give him a fire flower and give him fire breath, and maybe his attacks are more fire-based instead of electric like in the game, or maybe an ice flower. More ice effects could happen, and this could change the way his attacks come out and the way that they kind of work on the stage. Now, you won't be able to do this with any item in the game. It'll be specific items that will work with certain bosses, but you can play around and see what works for you. You can put triggers on your boss that shows that after you defeat them, the level ends, or after you defeat them, a major plot point of your level starts, or maybe a whole new section opens up, or something that has to be blocked off from this boss fight. You can also change the way the background looks by creating your own kind of boss arena with over 20 unique boss arenas given to you in the game, and you get to kind of customize the way your boss arena looks. It could be a creepy deep cavern one, or there could be one in a dark creepy space void with a black hole in the background, or there could be one on Bowser's airship in the background and all types of crazy things, or Bowser's castle boss rooms that you see in New Super Mario Brothers. You can customize this with any of the 20 that you want. Some bosses could even be made bigger than their original counterparts. Now, I'm not saying all of them because the Lord of Lightning is pretty big already, but if you want to make a Goomba gigantic and make him a boss kind of like King Goomba, you can do that. Or if you want to make an already established boss even bigger, like a bigger Petey Piranha, you can do that as well by feeding it mushrooms. And last but not least, there will also be a vast selection of boss themes that you can play throughout the various different Nintendo Mario games. For instance, instead of just having 2 per, theme, you can have multiple different boss themes that you can choose from a whole soundtrack list of and customize your boss battle even further. So as you can tell, the possibility of a Mario Maker boss maker would be amazing. There's so much potential and so much customization options, and I think this is really one of the few things, and I mean the few things, that Mario Maker is missing right now. If they're going to go with another 2D Mario Maker instead of a 3D one, we've got to have something to customize bosses or have a big selection of bosses to make our game stand out a little bit more. But let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. Do you guys think this is a good idea? Are you excited about something like this? Let me know in the comments down below, and if there's any other bosses that you have thought of that I just kind of missed in this video, comment those too. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to stay up to date on all things Mario Maker and all things Nintendo in general. And like always, I'll see you all on the next one. See you guys.